You walk into a room you've never been in before. Someone says a sentence you swear you've heard before, in this exact order, in this exact voice. For half a second, you know what's about to happen next. You could almost finish the sentence yourself. Maybe it's the tilt of someone's head. Maybe it's the smell in the air. Maybe it's nothing you can even name. Then, it's gone. You stand there trying to explain it to yourself. Have I been here before? Did I dream this? Is this some kind of glitch? Most people call it déjà vu and leave it there. A weird blip, a coincidence. Some people think it's proof of past lives. Some people joke that it means the simulation skipped a frame. But déjà vu isn't a coincidence, and it's not a glitch in reality. It's a glitch in you. And the real explanation is stranger than any of the myths.
Déjà vu means already seen in French. The term was first used in 1876 by a French philosopher named Émile Boirac in a letter describing his own strange experience of it. He spent the rest of his life trying to explain what had happened to him and never fully managed it. He wasn't alone. Sigmund Freud had his own theory. He believed déjà vu was tied to repressed desires resurfacing from the unconscious mind. It sounded compelling. It also turned out to be almost entirely wrong. For over a century, nobody could agree on what déjà vu actually was. In 2004, psychologist Alan Brown at Southern Methodist University reviewed the existing research and found more than 60 competing theories. Past lives, parallel universes, dream leakage, brain misfires. Nobody had proof. Nobody could even reliably trigger it in a lab. Later researchers tried to pin the phenomenon down with harder numbers. South African psychiatrist Vernon Neep, who has spent decades studying déjà vu, cataloged more than 20 distinct subtypes of the experience, ranging from the ordinary flash you get walking into a hallway to prolonged episodes that stretch on for minutes and leave people questioning what's real. His work was some of the first to treat déjà vu as something worth measuring seriously instead of dismissing it as folklore.
And yet, almost everyone experiences it. Somewhere between 60 and 70% of people report feeling it at least once, most commonly between the ages of 15 and 25. People who travel frequently report it more often. People who remember their dreams in detail report it more often too. That detail alone should have been a clue. Déjà vu isn't random. It's connected to how much material your brain has to compare things against. To understand what's really happening, you need to understand how your brain recognizes things in the first place. And it turns out, you don't have one memory system. You have two. The first is familiarity. It's fast, automatic, and vague. It just tells you, I've encountered this before, without telling you when or where or why. The second is recollection. It's slower and specific. It pulls up the actual memory, the time, the place, the context that explains why something feels familiar. Normally, these two systems work together perfectly. Something feels familiar, and your brain immediately tells you why. Déjà vu happens when they split apart. Your familiarity system fires hard. It floods you with certainty that you experienced this exact moment before. But your recollection system finds nothing. No memory, no context, no explanation. You're left with a feeling of certainty and no evidence to back it up. That gap between this feels completely familiar and I have no idea why is déjà vu.
Scientists have known for decades that this feeling has a physical location in the brain. In the 1950s, neurosurgeon Wilder Penfield operated on patients with severe epilepsy. To map their brains before surgery, he used electrodes to stimulate different regions while the patients were awake and talking to him. When he touched certain points near the temporal lobe, patients suddenly reported the exact sensation of déjà vu. Not a memory, not a passing thought, the full, uncanny feeling, triggered on demand by an electrical impulse in a specific patch of tissue. Patients described it as unmistakable, an overwhelming sense that they had lived through that exact conversation with him before, down to the tone of his voice. Some found it unsettling enough that they asked him to stop. He could turn it on and off with his equipment, the same way you'd flip a switch.
That single discovery ended over a century of speculation about ghosts and past lives. Deja vu wasn't coming from somewhere outside you. It was coming from a physical circuit inside your skull, and that circuit could misfire like any other. But there was still a missing piece. Why would that circuit misfire at all? In the 2010s, psychologist Cleary at Colorado State University ran a series of experiments using virtual reality. She built detailed digital scenes, walked participants through them, and later placed those same participants inside new scenes that shared the same spatial layout as ones they'd seen before, just with different objects and different decorations. A hospital hallway with the same turns as a college dorm, a garden with the same layout as a museum they'd walked through an hour earlier. Participants reported déjà vu, even though they had never technically seen that exact scene before in their lives. Cleary's conclusion was that your brain doesn't just remember specific events, it remembers the shape of experiences, the geometry of a room, the rhythm of a conversation. And when a brand new moment shares that same underlying shape as something old, your familiarity system responds to the pattern, even when your conscious mind has no memory of the original. You're not remembering the room, you're remembering the blueprint. Cleary didn't stop there. In a follow-up study, she asked participants to try predicting what would happen next during moments that felt like déjà vu, the same eerie sense of foreknowing you get when it happens to you. People were confident. They swore they could feel the next turn in the hallway, the next word in the sentence coming before it arrived. But when she checked their actual predictions against what really happened, their accuracy was no better than random guessing. The feeling of knowing the future was completely real. The actual ability to know the future was not there at all. Déjà vu doesn't give you a glimpse forward in time. It only gives you the sensation of one, manufactured by a brain trying to reconcile a pattern match it can't explain. There's a related phenomenon that makes this even clearer. It's called cryptomnesia, and it's essentially déjà vu's quiet cousin. Sometimes the familiarity you feel isn't a false alarm at all. It's a real memory, just one your conscious mind has completely lost access to. You walked past that street once, years ago, and forgot it entirely. Your brain didn't. It filed it away, and years later, it surfaces as a feeling with no name attached. So, déjà vu isn't your memory malfunctioning. It's your memory doing something far more sophisticated than simple recall, matching structures and half-buried traces instead of just clean, retrievable facts, and occasionally matching too well. But here's where it gets stranger. Because for years, scientists assumed déjà vu was a memory retrieval error, a false alarm coming from the same systems that store your memories. In 2016, neuroscientist Akira O'Connor at the University of St. Andrews tested that assumption directly. His team used fMRI scanners to watch people's brains while inducing feelings similar to déjà vu using word association tricks designed to create a false sense of familiarity. If déjà vu came from a memory error, the hippocampus, the brain's memory center, should have lit up. It didn't. Instead, the activity showed up in the frontal regions of the brain, the areas responsible for decision-making, conflict resolution, and checking information for accuracy. O'Connor's interpretation reframed everything. Déjà vu isn't your memory system failing. It's your memory system being checked by a separate system whose entire job is quality control. Somewhere in your brain, there is a process running constantly in the background, cross-referencing the sense of familiarity your memory generates against the actual evidence for it. Most of the time, it works silently, and you never notice it exists. Déjà vu is the rare moment you catch it in the act.
You are, for 2 or 3 seconds, watching your own mind audit itself in real time. And the eerie feeling isn't your memory being wrong, it's the opposite. It's proof that something in you is built specifically to catch your memory when it might be wrong.
There's a mirror image phenomenon that proves this checking system exists in both directions. It's called jamais vu, never seen. It's when something completely familiar, your own street, a word you've written 1,000 times, suddenly feels foreign and wrong, like you're encountering it for the first time. If déjà vu is a false positive, jamais vu is a false negative. Same circuit, same job, just misfiring the opposite way. People have described suddenly being unable to recognize their own reflection for a few unsettling seconds, or forgetting how to spell a name they've written their whole life. That explains why déjà vu fades with age. It peaks in your teens and 20s, when this fact-checking circuitry in the frontal lobe is still developing and highly active, and it becomes noticeably rarer after 40, as those same systems mature and settle. It also gets more frequent when you're exhausted or under heavy stress, because fatigue weakens the very checking process meant to catch these false alarms before you consciously notice them. It also explains something darker. In patients with temporal lobe epilepsy, déjà vu isn't a rare oddity. It's one of the most common warning signs of an oncoming seizure, reported by as many as 97% of patients with that specific condition. In those cases, the same circuit that quietly checks your memory in the background gets triggered by abnormal electrical activity instead of an actual pattern match. The feeling is identical. The cause is completely different. Which means the exact same sensation can mean two entirely different things. In most people, it's a healthy system working exactly as designed. In a smaller number of cases, it's a warning sign from a brain under electrical stress. Think about what that means. Somewhere in the architecture of your mind, evolution built a mechanism whose only purpose is to police your own certainty, to flag the moments when your brain believes something it cannot prove. You didn't ask for it. You can't turn it off. It sits there quietly for years at a time, running checks you'll never consciously see. And then, every so often, it surfaces just long enough for you to notice it exists at all. So the next time it happens to you, the room, the sentence, the half-second of certainty, you're not glimpsing a past life. You're not catching a glitch in some simulated world. You're watching a part of your own mind do its job, a silent auditor that spends your entire life checking every familiar feeling against the evidence, and once in a while, for just a moment, lets you see it working. You've always had a system inside you built to doubt your own memory before you ever had a reason to, and most of the time, you never even know it's there.